Disclaimer. Please forgive me now for there may be mispronunciations in this video. The legends of the Santa Paula Cemetery, also known as El Panteón de Belén. For the sake of my sanity and so not to disrespect anyone who knows the language, I'm going to be using the English name for this video. The Santa Paula Cemetery is in the city of Guadalajara, Mexico, and is truly haunted. The cemetery was built in 1848. And was located next to the old civic hospital in the former orchard called San Miguel Belén. The cemetery draws in many thousands of tourists annually, who not only come to view the architectural beauty or to enjoy the adjacent museum, but come for the nighttime ghost tours and its many legends. As far as it goes for places in Mexico that have alleged paranormal activity, this cemetery may be the one location in the whole country with more ghostly visitations than any other. It was May 24th, 1882, when a big storm came through the city. A young couple was putting their son to bed. He wasn't even 10 years old and feared the dark. His name was Ignacio Torres Altamirano. To combat his fear of darkness, they had lit 2 torches outside his bedroom window where he slept with the window open. But on May 24th, 1882, when the storm hit the city, the torches blew out. Unfortunately, by morning, the poor boy had passed away from a possible heart attack. Rumors spread that the boy's heart had exploded inside his chest. But either way, it was a tragic passing that some believed was a result of a curse or the work of demons. He was interred at the nearby cemetery, the Santa Paula Cemetery. The strangeness of his death did not end there. The next morning, the boy's coffin was found disinterred and lying on the ground next to the hole that was his grave. They reburied the boy's coffin. The next morning, the same thing happened, and again for 9 consecutive days. The boy's parents thought that it was because the boy's fear for the dark, and they did not want to be kept in the ground away from the light. The solution was to create a stone coffin to stand on 4 short pillars above the ground, so that his tomb could always see sunlight. But still, since his death, many people visiting the cemetery have claimed to have either seen or heard a young boy matching his description, or have seen mysterious balloons floating evenly above 3 to 4 feet over the cemetery as if being carried by a small child. The boy's tomb draws in curious people from all parts of Mexico. Some leave him a toy and ask him for a favor. On Children's Day, which is April 30th, and Christmas Day, the area surrounding the boy's final resting place becomes covered in small toys and plush animals. The caretakers of the cemetery always donate the offerings to the local hospitals, and the items end up in the hands of the terminally ill children. There is also a legend of a pirate who once sailed the Pacific during his youth and attacked many ships. As a middle-aged man, the pirate decided to settle down and make a life in Guadalajara. He had one son, but the son did not know about his father's former life. The man stashed away a massive treasure somewhere in the city, and a few months after hiding his pirate treasure, he died and was buried in Santa Paula Cemetery. Now if a devout person visits the pirate's grave at night and prays to a rosary for the man's tormented soul, the ghost of the pirate will reveal the exact location of the treasure. The ghost has yet to find a proper devout person. Another Santa Paula legend involves a child that is connected to the former hospital next door. A young boy named Santiago was suffering from a terminal stomach ailment. In some stories, it is an aggressive type of cancer. During one of her visits, his mother brought him one of his favorite saint statues from home. While he slept, the mother placed the small statue in the boy's hand. When Santiago awoke, he threw the statue against the wall, cursing God for giving him such an illness. He would yell to anyone who would hear his wish that God himself would contract the horrible illness that he suffered. At the end of his rant, he said, "If God gets the disease, let's see who will cure him." That night, the boy's pain was more intense than ever, and he wandered outside the hospital and into the cemetery. Tragically, the boy's body was found the next morning, hanging from a tree. He used the hospital bed sheets as a noose. Now sometimes at night, people claim to see the boy hanging from the tree inside the Santa Paula Cemetery. The story is told to children so not to lose their faith in God. The cemetery also has a story of a vampire in its midst. In the mid-1800s, scores of small animals were found throughout the city dead, with all their blood gone. Unfortunately, the same began to happen to human infants. The alarmed citizens formed a vigilante group to hunt down the supposed vampire. The mob rounded up a few suspects and singled out the palest and most vampiric-looking man of the group. They drove a stake through the man's heart to kill him. The group took the man's body to Santa Paula and placed it under a large stone slab. The vampire attack ceased, but a tree started to grow over the slab, covering the vampire's grave. It is said that if you break a branch off the tree, it will spurt blood, and even the leaves of the tree will leave a strange red residue in your hands if you handle them for an extended period. The tree is now rather large. It is said that when the tree's roots eventually break the slab or causes a gap, the vampire will escape and seek revenge on the citizens. There was a woman who was born in 1833 named Victoriana Rorotado. She suffered from catalepsy since she was a child. According to the legend, she was buried alive by her 3 children. They did this cruelly, having taken advantage of their mother's illness. But their purpose could not be fulfilled, and that was to distribute her fortune. Victoriana had left every penny for charity. The real story was known because the watchman of the cemetery at the time heard a terrible cry from the tomb of the woman the very day of her burial. When he arrived, he saw the bloodied hand of Victoriana, who tried to leave the tomb. Later, it was learned that she died from a heart attack, and the hand was petrified. There are plenty of more legends that surround this cemetery. The lovers, the monk, the story of Jose Cuervo, the nun, and many more. Who knows if any of these legends are true, or if they are simply mass hysteria. What do you think of Santa Paula Cemetery? Did you like this video? Want to support this channel and get early access? Feel free to check out my Patreon page where I create content on cryptids, hauntings, alien abductions, serial killers, and much more. If you can't support me there, like, comment, and subscribe here.